You did not get old overnight. Nothing broke, no diagnosis. Your doctor looked at the numbers and said you're fine. And technically, you are. But something shifted, quietly, over years, and now the body you're living in is not the one you remember. The recovery takes longer. The weight moved even when the scale didn't. You wake up and there is already something sitting behind your eyes before the day starts. You've been blaming your schedule, your sleep, your discipline. I want to offer you a different explanation, one with a name, a mechanism, and 3 specific levers you can start pulling this week. But first, I want to give you a 3-question self-test. No lab required. Answer honestly. 1. After a genuinely hard day, physical or mental, do you feel recovered the next morning? Or do you carry that heaviness into the following day as a starting point? 2. Look at your waist. Has the distribution changed in the last 5 years, even though your scale weight stayed roughly the same? 3. Does one drink, one late night, or one heavy meal hit you noticeably harder than it did a decade ago? If 2 out of 3 landed, stay with me, because those are not separate problems. They are 3 symptoms of the same biological switch, and that switch has a name. It's called cellular senescence. I know how that sounds. It sounds like a longevity podcast term, or something from a press release about a supplement. I want to strip all of that away and tell you exactly what it actually means, and more importantly, what it means for the body you are living in right now. Every cell in your body is damaged over time. Oxidative stress, replication errors, radiation, inflammation, the cumulative load adds up. When a cell is damaged, it faces a decision. It can repair itself. It can die cleanly through a process called apoptosis, your body's way of removing cells that are no longer working correctly. Or it can do something else. It can stop dividing, refuse to die, and stay. That third option is a senescent cell. Now, for a short window, senescent cells are useful. They send alarm signals that tell your immune system, damage here, send clearance. In a young body, the immune system responds, clears the senescent cell, and the tissue renews. The process works. The biology holds. But here is where the switch flips. After 40, 2 things happen at the same time. Your body starts producing senescent cells at a faster rate because the cumulative damage has been building for decades. And your immune system, which handles the clearance, starts slowing down. It gets less efficient. The clearing rate drops. The production rate rises. And for the first time in your life, these cells begin to accumulate. They don't sit there quietly. When I first read the data from Xu and colleagues, published in Nature Medicine in 2018, I had to recalculate what I was looking at, because the effect size was larger than I expected. In their model, when senescent cells were selectively cleared in aged animals, the results were not subtle. Walking speed improved, grip strength improved, kidney and cardiovascular function improved, and the animal's remaining healthy lifespan extended by over 30%. Not on a chart. Not in a lab metric. Actual physical function. Actual daily capacity. That is not a small effect. That is a system that matters. And here is the mechanism driving it, because I want you to understand this. Not memorize it, understand it. Senescent cells release a specific pattern of molecules. Cytokines, proteases, growth factors. This pattern is called the SASP, the senescence-associated secretory phenotype. You don't need to remember that term. What you need to know is what it does inside you. The SASP signal is not local, it travels. It reaches neighboring healthy cells and nudges them towards senescence as well. One damaged cell quietly corrupting its neighbors. This is called paracrine senescence, and it is why accumulation accelerates once it starts. It disrupts the local tissue environment, which means the tissue takes longer to repair after any kind of stress. It interferes with stem cell function, which means the body's renewal capacity slows. It raises systemic inflammation, which is why your recovery from a hard workout, a hard day, or a single late night takes longer than it used to. Go back to the 3 questions. Slow recovery after effort. Waist distribution shifting without weight change. Amplified response to things that used to be minor. Each of those maps directly onto a documented effect of SASP accumulation in adults over 40. I am not offering you a metaphor, I am offering you a mechanism. Now I need to tell you something that I wish more people understood earlier. You cannot feel this process happening. There is no pain signal, no alert. Your doctor will run a standard panel, look at the results, and say everything is fine. And by clinical standards, it will be. Senescent cell burden is not on a standard blood panel. It is not measured in a routine physical. It is invisible to the system that is supposed to be monitoring you. This is what I find most frustrating about where the science is versus where standard clinical practice is. The research on cellular senescence and aging has been accumulating for over 2 decades. The 2023 update to the Hallmarks of Aging framework, published in Cell by López-Otín and colleagues, identifies cellular senescence as one of 12 primary drivers of biological aging, 12 well-characterized mechanisms. And senescence is explicitly listed as one of the most tractable, meaning there are specific evidence-supported ways to slow accumulation and in some cases, support clearance. But that knowledge has not reached the standard clinical conversation. Most people sitting in a doctor's office at 43, asking why they feel different than they did at 38, will not hear the word senescence. They will hear that it is part of getting older, and it is. But that phrase contains an assumption I want to challenge directly, that the rate at which this happens is fixed. It is not fixed, and that distinction changes everything. Here is where I need to add something important. Sometimes what I am describing is not a lifestyle optimization problem. Sometimes the fatigue, the changed body composition, or the amplified recovery deficit has a clinical cause. Thyroid dysfunction, metabolic disease, sleep apnea, hormonal disruption. If your symptoms are significant, persistent, and worsening, that is a reason to be evaluated, not just a reason to watch this video. The biology I am describing is real. It is also not the only explanation. Start with a qualified clinician if you have not already. With that said, let me give you the 3 highest evidence levers for everyone else. The ones where the research is solid, the actions are accessible, and the risk of harm is low. But first, I want to name the mistake that most people make when they hear about cellular aging. They assume the intervention is exotic, a clinic in Switzerland, an expensive compound, something that has not been approved yet. The actual evidence points in a different direction. The first lever is glucose timing, not glucose elimination, not fasting, specifically glucose variability, the degree to which your blood sugar spikes and then drops across the day, particularly in the evening. Repeated glucose excursions accelerate oxidative stress inside cells. Oxidative stress accelerates the rate at which cells reach their damage threshold and enter senescence. The Yoshino data from cell metabolism and the work from the Sonnenberg lab at Stanford on metabolic flexibility both point to postprandial glucose, the spike after eating, as the modifiable driver that most people are not managing. Because they've been told their fasting glucose is normal, and fasting glucose is the wrong number for this question. I spent too long looking at the wrong number. That is an honest mistake I made, and I see it in how most people talk about blood sugar. The practical step is simple. Compress your eating window so the last meal ends at least 3 hours before you sleep. This single timing adjustment reduces nocturnal glucose variability significantly in the research data. You do not need a continuous glucose monitor to start this. You need a cutoff time and the discipline to hold it for 2 weeks and notice what changes. What changes for most people in those 2 weeks is the morning. The heavy feeling behind the eyes, the slow start. Because the night stopped being a glucose processing event and started being a genuine recovery window. Now, I want to give you the second complication because this is the part most explanations leave out. And if you stop here, you will apply the first lever and assume it is enough. It is not. Glucose timing lowers the accumulation rate, but it does not address the clearance rate, the speed at which your immune system removes the senescent cells that have already built up. And after 40, that clearance rate has almost certainly already declined. Slowing future accumulation and clearing the existing burden are 2 different problems. You need both. This is where exercise enters the picture, but not the version of exercise most people are doing. There is a 2021 meta-analysis in Aging Research Reviews examining the effect of different exercise types on senescence markers in adults over 45. The finding is clear and runs counter to how most people structure their training. High-intensity interval training, brief, genuinely hard effort, was associated with measurably reduced senescent cell markers in peripheral blood, more so than moderate-intensity continuous training of the same duration. Much more so. I spent years doing long, moderate effort sessions because I thought volume was the variable. It is not. The variable is intensity. The physiological mechanism is AMPK activation and mitophagy, 2 processes that clear damaged cellular components before they trigger senescence. These processes require a hard enough signal to activate. A comfortable session does not provide that signal. 2 to 3 sessions per week of genuine effort, not prolonged, not sustainable all day, does more for your cellular clearance rate than 5 sessions of the version that leaves you feeling fine. I want to be specific about what hard means here because it gets blurred. Hard means the level at which you genuinely cannot maintain a conversation. Not uncomfortable, not slightly elevated heart rate, actually unable to speak in full sentences. That threshold is the physiological gate. Below it, you are getting cardiovascular benefit. You are not getting significant AMPK-driven cellular clearance. The practical step: for 2 of your current sessions per week, add 4 to 6 intervals of genuine maximum effort. Each interval can be as short as 20 to 40 seconds, followed by recovery. Repeat. You do not need to overhaul your training. You need to raise the ceiling on 2 sessions. The third lever is the most recent in the evidence base, and I want to be honest about where the data is strong and where it is still developing. Certain plant compounds, quercetin and fisetin being the most studied, have demonstrated what researchers call senolytic properties. They selectively promote the removal of senescent cells. The Mayo Clinic-led trial on dasatinib and quercetin demonstrated reductions in senescent cell burden in human adipose tissue in patients with diabetic kidney disease. The fisetin data, published in EBioMedicine in 2018, showed a 25 to 30% reduction in senescent cell markers in aged mice, with preserved function carried into late life. The human data is early. I would not tell you that taking fisetin tomorrow will produce a measurable result within a month. The trials are small, the populations are specific, and the dosing is still being characterized. But I take the mechanistic plausibility seriously. The safety profile of both compounds in food-equivalent doses is well established, and the research trajectory is one I follow closely. Fisetin is found in highest concentration in strawberries. Quercetin is concentrated in capers and red onion. These are not exotic, they are accessible. The dosing that showed effects in the trials is achievable through supplemental forms for those who want to pursue that, but the food sources are a reasonable place to start. I adjusted my own approach on both of these about 18 months ago, not because of one paper, but because 4 independent lines of evidence were pointing in the same direction. That is the threshold I use before I change anything in my own protocol. Let me give you the action map clearly because I want you to leave with something specific. 3 levers. They work on different parts of the same problem. Lever 1, glucose timing. Stop eating at least 3 hours before sleep. This reduces the evening oxidative load that accelerates senescent cell production. Start tonight. Lever 2, exercise intensity. 2 sessions per week where you reach genuine maximum effort for short intervals. This activates the clearance pathway. Adjust the next session. Lever 3, senolytic foods and compounds. Add fisetin and quercetin sources to your diet if they are not already there. Follow the emerging trial literature before using supplemental doses. Start with the food sources immediately. None of these require a prescription. None require a diagnosis. All 3 have their strongest effect when started before the accumulation becomes large scale, which means the time to understand this is not when you are 60, it is now. I want to close by returning to where we started. You woke up one morning and something had shifted. The body was giving you a different report. You blamed yourself. Most people do, because the system around you offered no other explanation. Your labs were normal. Your doctor said fine. So the problem must be discipline, or age, or just the way it is. The biology says something different. The biology says that what you are feeling has a name, that it follows a mechanism, that the mechanism has levers, and that the levers are accessible. You are no longer looking at your recovery, your waste, your sensitivity to one bad night as evidence of personal failure. You are looking at them as signals from a system you now know how to read. That is not a small change. That is a different conversation with your own body, and it starts tonight.